All right, what's good, guys? We are back with the Steroid Bootcamp part 17. Okay, this is going to be part 17, and we're going over the mental game during post-cycle recovery, handling mood, motivation, libido drops. A very, very important section here. Similar to the last one, but this is just going to go into a lot more detail on what to expect during this PCT, all right? Because the mental challenges can be very difficult if you're not ready, you're not prepared for these. It can be a disaster. So I want you all to be aware of this, what to expect and how to handle what's going to happen. Because as I said in the previous section, right, when you're post-cycle therapy, you're coming off the cycle. When you're on the cycle, you feel like a god. You are having crazy aggression. You have crazy motivation, work ethic all around. You're going to lose that during the PCT because you're not at that optimal level, at super physiological level of testosterone, and the compounds are no longer in your system. They're tapering out, so you're going to feel like shit. And this is what we're going to be going over in this part of the boot camp. Very important part. Okay. Goes bypass all the time, similar to the last section, but this is very important. So part 17, the mental game during post-cycle recovery, handling mood, motivation, and libido drops. All right. So first off, you have to understand the mental challenges. Let me get a quick sip before we start this. So, post-cycle therapy PCT triggers hormonal fluctuations that impact brain chemistry, of course, okay? So the PCT itself, the compounds you take, they will be toxic. Your lipids are going to take a hit. This is going to cause hormone fluctuations because your hormones are going from being insane, super physiological levels, to legitimately crashing. And the PCT is there to boost everything back up into the normal range. It's not trying to boost it back up into that super physiological range, just back to baseline where you were before the blast. So everything most likely will drop beneath that point in this temporary short period of time, but your goal is to boost everything back into range, okay? So you should expect mood swings, irritability, anxiety, or low motivation due to dropping exogenous hormones. This is very common and it is to be expected. You have to understand that you most probably will run into one of these sides, if not all of them, okay? I've run into absolutely every single one of these during a PCT when I used to PCT, when I was new. I've run into all of these, okay? And you have to understand that the reason you're running into that in that given moment in time is because you're coming off the cycle. You're losing all those benefits and your body's not going to be used to it. It's going to get shocked and you are most likely going to be running into at least one of these, okay? Libido often crashes as natural test ramps up slowly. All right, so this should be expected as well. You're probably not going to perform as well in bed. You might not even want to partake in that activity, okay? This is definitely common. It's happened to me before, which sucks, but it is a short period of time, right? These effects peak 2 to 4 weeks into the PCT and can last 4 to 8 weeks total at the max. But if your PCT is designed properly, it's effective. You shouldn't expect these effects longer than 2 weeks, okay? Because the PCT should be kicking in, bringing everything back up into that range. Mental resilience is key to preserving gains and avoiding cycle regret. It's all mental game when it comes to PCT. That's why I put this in there. It's all mental, bro. So when you're coming off, as long as you're aware this is going to happen, then you will set yourself up for success because then you can prepare for that. You can be, when you're in the moment and shit sucks, you're like, okay, it's just a short period of time, 2 to 4 weeks, I'm going to be good, okay? And you're going to be able to keep pushing yourself past that point. If you're in that moment and you don't understand what's happening, you can completely regress and lose all the gains because you're going to be like, oh, if I feel like shit. You might not even understand you feel like shit. You're not going to comprehend what's happening in that moment, and you're going to stop doing everything, the diet, the training. But if you're aware of it, you can allow yourself to keep pushing through shit. You're disciplined enough to keep pushing through. You're just going to know that this is part of the process. And that's kind of what this section is made to be in the first place, just to make you aware that this is going to happen so that you do keep pushing, because a lot of people just stop, okay? Because they don't understand this happens during a post-cycle therapy. Now, this is the daily mood management strategy. It's very important. Again, track mood in a journal. Data tracking, bro. Track everything, including your mood. Rate your energy, focus, and happiness on a 1 to 10 scale each morning. It's going to be very important to look back on after the post-cycle therapy is done. You should be doing this during the cycle as well. I know all this data tracking shit might seem overwhelming, but if you do it, it's going to pay off. Because then in the end, you're going to have all this fucking data. You're going to be able to see everything in front of you on what's happened with your, in a physical stance, okay? with your mental state. You're going to have it all right there written down so that you look back, you're like, okay, at this point I was this size, I was feeling like this. Cool. I was taking tests, I was taking DECA. Shouldn't be taking that shit. NPP, right? And you'll be able to see what exactly happened in that moment. If you don't track shit, it's bro science. You're just guessing. You don't want to guess. Be data driven. That's how you succeed with this game. And I'm going to say this now to the end of time. You have to be data driven. It's the only way you win. Right? Prioritize sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours nightly with consistent bedtime. If you get a Whoop or a fucking Oura Ring or some shit, it's going to track it for you. You'll have that data there without having to track it. Without one of these devices, it's going to be very hard to tell the specific amount of hours you're getting in terms of your sleep. But as long as you're in bed for like 9 hours, you're going to be perfectly fine. Okay. Because as long as you're not staring at the goddamn ceiling all night. Okay. You definitely want to be in bed for at least like 9 to 10 hours and you're going to be good. That will mean that you most likely got at least 7 hours of good sleep in. But again, the device is very handy. It's very handy. It gives you an advantage just to understand how much REM sleep you got, deep sleep and light sleep. There are 3 different stages of sleep and you want to get as much deep sleep and REM sleep as possible to make sure you're fully recovering. Okay. Now, sunlight exposure. You want to use sunlight exposure to your benefit. 15 to 30 minutes of morning light to regulate circadian rhythm. This is very important, optional, okay, not mandatory, but very important. Just get those nutrients in. Sunlight helps a lot. You'll feel the difference, okay? Sunlight gives you that energy you need. Now, you want to practice stress reduction as well. 10 minutes of deep breathing or meditation daily is a great habit to get into. This will reduce cortisol levels massively. When I started doing this shit, it helps, okay? It might sound like fucking bullshit, right? Meditation is sitting there doing nothing. It helps, okay? Whatever you can do to reduce cortisol, you want to do. Cortisol can fuck with everything. It can make you stressed, irritable, anxiety. All that shit can come with because of increased cortisol. So whatever you can do to reduce that, do it, right? And this will help reduce that shit. Now, limit caffeine and alcohol as well. Both exacerbate anxiety during hormonal shifts. Alcohol, you shouldn't be doing this in the first place. But if you are drinking for whatever reason, going past every word of advice that I said throughout this boot camp, that you should not mix partying alcohol use with your cycle, you want to limit it as much as possible, along with caffeine. If you're a stim junkie, I am, okay, a lot of people are, you get that aggression during your lifts, limit it, because that will definitely increase cortisol levels, okay? So just keep that shit in mind. You can still take caffeine, you can still intake caffeine, it's not the end of the world, but you don't want to take a large amount of this shit in excess daily, right? Now, boosting motivation when it tanks. Very, very important slide here. Make sure you screenshot this. You want to set micro goals in training. So you do want to focus on form, perfection, or small PRs instead of heavy lifts. So with your reps, do rep PRs instead of heavy lifts. Okay, it doesn't matter what type of PRs you do. As long as they're small, it's not focus on lift PRs because you're not going to be hitting lift PRs during your PCT, okay? Just small, separate PRs. Did you do a certain amount of cardio per day? Okay, if you're used to doing 30, do 35. Just small fucking PRs like that. It's going to make a world of difference when you're still seeing progress during this down period instead of strength progress, because you won't see strength progress. You're going to lose a lot of strength during the post-psychotherapy. So you shouldn't be tracking heavy lift PRs, but you should definitely still track some type of PR. Micro goals are very important just so you still see progress. It does help subconsciously to still see progression. If you're not seeing any progression, it can definitely take a toll on your motivation. It can make you very demotivated. You don't want that shit, okay? Because that can cause massive muscle loss, massive progress loss. You don't want that, okay? Schedule non-gym rewards. Plan activities like gaming, movies, or social outings post-workout. Creates a reward loop, okay? Dopamine loop. Which is, it can help. It's optional, okay? You want to be disciplined in general. This can help with that discipline. If, let's say, you watch a movie with your girl at night, right? And that's your dopamine reward loop, okay? If you get this training session and if you follow this diet, you're going to watch a movie, you're going to have a good time with your girl tonight, right? Set some type of reward at the end of the day so that you do what you have to do. It sets a small dopamine reward loop, and this shit can help. You also want to use accountability partners, right? Share progress with a training buddy or online community. Super important too. Join a community or get buddies in the gym. accountability partners are great to stay disciplined during this time where motivation is going to be at an all-time low. You're going to be demotivated. So having those accountability partners are important. Implement habit stacking. Pair gym time with something enjoyable like podcasts, okay? Or just crazy ass music. This is what I do. I listen to hard as fuck music, rock, rap, right? This also creates a dopamine loop, right? Podcasts are great if you really want that aggression, like when you're on a blast. Hard music is going to be excellent for you, but habit stacking is great too. You want to pair something that releases dopamine with the activity, and that will help you for sure. You want to celebrate small wins, track body measurements or photos weekly to see progress. Always be data driven, right? And this is just part of that process. Now, next up here is going to be handling libido and relationship dynamics. So if you're in a relationship, you want to let your partner know. You want to let your partner know what's happening. Like, don't hide the fact you're on a cycle. That's a horrible idea. That's how you're going to ruin a relationship. You want to make sure they're in full understanding that you were on a cycle. You took the cycle. You should be telling them this in the first place because there's going to be changes happening. You don't want them thinking it's some shit that they did, right? You want them understanding that if some shit is happening mentally, if some shit is happening physically, it's because of the cycle. It's not because of some weird shit happening in the relationship. You want to communicate that you're coming off the cycle with your partner if you do have one. You want them to understand that, hey, I'm coming off a cycle. There might be some libido shifts, some libido issues. Just understand this is not you. This is the cycle. Okay, females get, it's not going to be good. Okay, if you're coming off a cycle and all of a sudden you can't get hard in bed or you can't perform and your girl's going to think it's something because of her, right? You don't want them thinking that. That's bad. That can ruin a relationship. So you do want to communicate the shit with your partner. So communicate openly with partners about temporary changes. Just let them know it's temporary. PCT is very fucking temporary, just short amount of time. But you have to do it. I know there's a lot of goddamn negatives with the post-cycle therapy. You're not going to want to feel it. Okay, it is toxic, but it's the only way that you can maintain your natural hormone production if you decide to come off. If you blast and cruise, it's going to be very difficult too. But the whole purpose of doing this is so you're looking in the future. Okay, you're thinking about longevity, and your post-cycle therapy is that. It is longevity. It is making sure that if you do want to come off after this first cycle, after a couple cycles, you have the ability to do so. Right? If you don't do this, you might not have the option to come off. You might have to pin your ass for the rest of your life. So you want to communicate this, focus on non-sexual intimacy, build emotional connection, maintain relationships. So optional, okay, it's an option if you are in a relationship, but even with friendships, okay, if you're not in a relationship, let them know that you're coming off a cycle and that if you're acting like a dick, you're irritable, it's because you're on a PCT. You just want to be very open about this shit. If you hide it, it can ruin relationships, right? Now, also, you want to use natural libido supports if needed. Consistent sleep, zinc, and stress management. Very crucial. Avoid that overuse. That can create unrealistic expectations during recovery. This is a horrific habit in general. I know a lot of people do it. No one wants to admit it, okay? Every guy's done this shit at one point. It's a very good habit to stop doing this. This is a very bad habit that can completely burn your dopamine system. It can cause relationship problems. But it can mess you up really bad during a PC when you're already running into these libido problems. This can be an overall disaster. So just avoid this at all costs. And I would start getting into a habit if you're doing this right now to just completely cut this out of your life. Slowly but surely get it out. This is one of the most horrific habits you can get into as a male. And it can definitely burn your like completely fry your dopamine system to the point where work ethic can be at an all-time low. Anything can feel like a chore. It's just not good. The second I stopped doing this is when a lot started getting done. I started achieving what I wanted to in life. So I would overall just cut this out, or at least try to, right? Now, remember, full libido does return as testosterone stabilizes, usually by week 6 to 8. I typically see this at week like 3 to 4. Okay. Weeks 3 to 4 deep into the PCT, you're going to be starting to restore your natural production, and you will start getting that libido return to you. But by week 6 to 8, it should be in full force. You should be back to normal. Okay. But you have to understand this is going to happen. Now, when to adjust your approach. If depression persists beyond 2 weeks, increase social interaction and sunlight exposure, reduce your cortisol values as well. Persistent fatigue. Do you want to check blood work for thyroid or cortisol problems if you do continuously get tired? Now, fatigue is to be expected, okay? You're coming off a cycle. You're going to be tired. You're going to be demotivated, to be expected. But if it's persistent past that point of that 3 to 4 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, check your bloods, figure out what's going wrong. It will tell you on your blood, your labs. Thyroid, cortisol problems can be a contributing factor with fatigue. So you want to make sure you're on top of this. It could be other things as well. There's a million options on your bloods that can cause fatigue. That's why you get them done, okay? Because everyone's different. Now, severe anxiety as well. You want to implement grounding techniques or consider temporary natural calming aids. Very common, okay? If you look at studies, if you look at people in the past that did this shit in the 90s, early 2000s, people were offing themselves coming off cycles. This is what caused problems. This is why steroids got a bad rep, is because of the misinformation. People didn't understand what they were doing. They were taking trend tests for like a year. They came off. All of a sudden, libido's gone, depression, anxiety, and they feel like this consistently because they don't know what's going on. They just think that they're fucked up, right? And if you do this shit for a prolonged period of time and you don't understand how to PCT or blast and cruise properly, you're going to deal with this for a long time. And when you're in that moment in time, it can feel like, okay, this is just my life now. Not going to want to keep living through that shit, right? And that can cause problems. So you do want to, again, be aware, but implement those techniques. Consider temporary natural calming aids, right? It's going to be very important. Now, I put this in a separate slide because it's very crucial. Never rush back into another cycle. Jay Cutler, get out of my way, bro. To fix mental sides. Now, I'm going to bold this. I want you to please screenshot this because this is one of the most common mistakes I see everybody run into. Everyone does this shit. Even professionals that understand what they're doing do this. When they get on a cycle, right? You feel out a certain way. I'm going to keep repeating it because it's true. You feel like a god. Everything is insane. Okay. You get used to this feeling. This becomes your baseline. When you come off, you're no longer used to feeling natural. You're used to feeling that excess overdrive level of work ethic, of aggression. And that becomes your new normal. When you come off, you lose it. You lose it. You feel like shit. You feel weak. You don't feel like that same guy. This can cause people to become impatient, hop back on another cycle, and yes, the problems get fixed. It's a band-aid. You hop on another cycle. Cool. You feel like that prime version of yourself again. But that's what causes the never-ending loop of not being able to come off. Okay, you hop into another cycle. Now you're increasing, exacerbating the risk of running into long-term sides, running into short-term sides, and people just run into this shit and it becomes never-ending loop. They never come off. Now they, first off, have to be on TRT for life. But if they don't decide to do that, they just stay on 24/7, 365 days a year. And that's when you run into early trips to the grave. And I see this happen so many fucking times. People I know, people in this industry, it's very common. They just don't come off because of this exactly. Because they feel like shit when coming off. This is what causes problems. So you have to understand this. And that's why the joke is like, I said this in the last segment of the camp, but it's like people always think they're going to take one cycle and then come off. It's never the case. They always take an additional cycle or end up blasting and cruising. You can't be like this. You have to understand. You have to go through the full PCT and just be patient. Know that you're going to be weak. Know that you're going to be demotivated during this time. Just take it to the chin. Understand this is going to happen. Go through it. Okay. It's going to build resilience, going to build discipline going through this time span. And you're going to focus on longevity. Okay. You're going to be safe in the long run if you just follow through the PCT instead of hopping into another cycle to fix the problems. Now, professional guidance is recommended if symptoms interfere with your daily life. If the PCT is not effective, you should probably have someone on your side helping you through this because your PCT is everything if you're trying to properly stimulate your natural hormone production back up in a range. Now, long-term mental framework is important too. You want to view your PCT as a growth period. Mental toughness is built here and it pays off in future cycles, as I just mentioned. This isn't just a period of time where you're trying to boost your natural hormone production. This is building your mental muscles as well. And this is what creates winners. This is what creates success in this game. Your PCT is probably more important than the cycle itself. So your mental muscles are just as important as your physical muscles. Yes, you're trying to grow. You're trying to shred down, right? Be lean, be big. But your mental muscles have to be there as well. If you're trying to take this all the way, if you want to look like this motherfucker Jeff Seed, right? On the screen, your mental muscles have to be there. You have to know when to come off, when to say no, when to say yes, when to wait, how to be patient. This is going to help you do that shit. And every time you do something like this, it helps build that mental toughness, that resilience that you need to be able to take this the long haul and be able to get that physique. But if you're impatient, you try rushing into shit, you don't build that mental muscle. That's when problems come up, dude. So you have to do this and view your PCT as that as well. So view the actual cycle as building your physical state, building your muscles, leaning out. Then view the PCT as building your mental muscles, building your mentality, making sure that you have that resilience, that toughness in order to be disciplined. Discipline's everything with this shit. And you have to view your PCT as this. It's going to help a lot if you do that. Now you want to document what worked as well, data-driven. Create a mental recovery playbook for next time. Data is everything, okay? Reframe the process, temporary discomfort for long-term progress, right? It's a really good way to look at it. You should stay connected to your why. Revisit initial goals that motivated the cycle, success metric, maintaining training consistency through the entire recovery phase. Now, this is another very important slide here. So when it comes to this, temporary discomfort is going to be long-term progress, okay? So when you're running into that discomfort, just know that this is what is going to create long-term progress. If you fuck up and you don't go through that discomfort, first off, you're not building your mental resilience. Second off, you're going to fuck up. You're going to run into sides, some non-reversible sides, and you will probably have to come off indefinitely and you won't be able to keep progressing and you're going to ruin your progress, okay? If you're disciplined mentally, you can take this the long haul and you can get a crazy fucking physique, but your mentality is just as important as what you're doing in the gym and your diet. That's what's going to carry you through this shit and make sure you're doing this the right way. So this is a very important section. I know that it was a little different, but this entire section is just making you aware that this is going to happen, making sure that you have that mental toughness to push through this shit, even though it's a very small amount of time. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it's nothing in your life. You're living fucking probably 80, 85 years, okay? 90, 100, if you get lucky, you're healthy, right? 3 weeks is nothing, bro. 3 weeks is nothing. I know it's going to seem like a long period of time when you're going through that shit, but it's not the end of the world. Build your mental toughness during this time and you will fucking prosper afterwards, okay? So this is going to be part, what was it? I think we're on 17, right? Part 17, which is the mental game. Next up, we're going to go into the next phase, long-term strategy. Keeping gains and future planning. So 18 will be how to keep gains after coming off. We got 3 parts left. I am going to be knocking these out. You just have to know how to do this shit properly. And the mental thing is everything. That's why I made this section, part 17 of the camp, is because this is where most people fuck up, and that's where they lose the gains that they got from the cycle. You just have to understand this, be aware, subconsciously understand this, save this video, make sure that you know this is going to happen and you're going to be good. So if you like this shit, like and subscribe, comment if you have any questions. I'm still responding to all comments, and I will see you guys in the next part of the boot camp. Peace.